People often learn this, someone could be alone and not have anyone, they're just dreaming of the love, the one-sided love that's already married or somebody that's out of reach. Someone else could have 2 or 3 lovers and think that they can keep the 2 or 3, their husband and their lover, and they keep these all things going, not hurt anyone, and that, why couldn't life go like that? Till someone gets hurt, till it comes up, whoa. So you try to avoid the scandals, avoid the confusion, avoid the blame, but you keep their life simple, but you don't want to be always smothering and guilt-ridden them. They still have to have a chance to do things. Bigger puzzle. You'd have to watch the camps they went to at school or from school, or well, they have to figure that it's there tied up in your relationship with the kid if it's your kid. If it's you, it's there tied up in your relationship with your parents. You just build the guilt of not doing what they expected you to do, not marrying the person they wanted you to marry, or whatever. When you get to Pluto, Pluto's a very harsh planet. Neptune's dreamy and gullible and guilt-ridden or sad or fuzzy or confusing or deceptive, tempting. Pluto is reality check, the auditor. It's confrontation. It's a challenge with force. It's like, okay, God, go ahead, make my day. You know, uh-oh, did I say that? So how far will you push things? Will you stand up? If you see someone getting killed, will you tell on them or not? If it's the gang that runs the neighborhood, would you say anything or not? How much fear do you live in? Now, Pluto gives control to Mars. It can give tremendous control, but a harsh control. But it can also bring fear to Mars, whether it's fears of gangs, fears of bullies, and harsh things that came down. I have the Pluto square to Mars. I was afraid of my dad. We would always stay away because if we were seen, we could probably get hurt. So we were afraid. We stayed away from him. When he was older and weaker, he was a much nicer person and a lot more fun to be with. But when he was a kid, when we were kids, he was fearful, post-war. But there's fears, there's blocks. Each of the outer planets aspects, when they're hitting an inner planet, there's the possibility of some type of abuse when you're kids. And having to grow up in spite of that. And then having to deal with it. Pluto is harsh reality. It's tough, it's challenging. Often there's a harsh, one parent or somebody's harsh around them and they're afraid of that. And yet that harshness is there because they probably dished it out in another lifetime and they've got it this lifetime to have to solve. So they still have to do things, but if you do things with wrong people, it becomes harsh right away. It's like if somebody was dealing drugs, Uranus to Mars would be a sudden bust or a sudden disruption. Neptune would be a whole big scandal and a ripoff. Pluto would be the SWAT team comes in, kicks down the door, and there you are. So like they each have different types of energy. In transits, we'll see them more. In your chart, wherever Neptune is chart, you're most spaced out on. We already have a sense of this. Wherever Mars is, you're going to have to be aggressive about or assertive about. Wherever Uranus is, you have to be unconventional and a little bit innovative. Wherever Pluto is, you have to be really real and harsh and matter of fact around it. So are you good enough? Can you do this? Can't you do this? Are you strong enough? Are you not strong enough? There's an incredible competitiveness and a fear with it a long time, because if I fail, I could get hurt. Or nobody's fair, I've got to do this, or I can do this. It makes the Mars very harsh. So this is someone who can control their passions and be very controlling sexually, and they could make sure that whoever they're with is satisfied, except for one thing they couldn't do. They couldn't surrender and let the other person control them. They'd have to be in control of. That's one-sided. That's extreme. That'll create harsh challenges about how decisions are made in life and who's doing what. We all got these planets in our chart. They all touch different planets. If it's hitting your Mars, this is a perfect aspect to get to learn martial arts or to get something where you're using your energy and not being afraid of it. But if someone had this aspect and they were challenged or handicapped, they have their battle and they're going to have to fight it on their terms. So there'll be many battles, many ways that Mars can work. You can't predict, oh, you just got this, this is what this means exactly. But you become alert, uh-oh, there's a Mars Pluto here. You got alert to ask some questions to the person to find how it's showing in their life. And once you see it and observe it in their life, you'll see what it is and what they have to deal with. It's going to be there one way or another. But if you predict it, say, "Oh, you're afraid of doing anything, aren't you?" They're saying, "No, I do this. I do." This person could be super controlled in sports, a super capable person, but almost so strong they can't surrender and let go, so they can never be satisfied or happy. The challenge. Now, I have Pluto square my Mars, and I've had times of great happiness, I had times of great sorrow, I had times where things I over-controlled, there's times where I lost control and things were gone. I've had all these extremes. I've had a fairly extreme life, many adventures. Okay, I went around the world without any money, traveled around. I went through Turkey, Iran, Pakistan years ago. I'm glad I did because I met good people. I don't have the sense of the system's against this. I don't have that. But whenever I do something, I'm always figuring it's going to be opposed, and I work really hard at it, and I have to do it. So, because I have Mars, Mercury together, this Mars, Pluto hitting the Mars and the Mercury pushes me to have to accomplish. If I decide to do something, I got to do it. I'll work thousands of hours to get chart forms, to get these reports together, to do all these sets of webinars, for example. Probably if I were married and with someone, I wouldn't be able to do this quite so well. I'm on my own. I live for these days and be able to talk and go into these energies and talk about them. But Pluto Mars is harsh and confronting, and if there's a battle, there'll be a fear element. If there's a fight with someone, they're either afraid of fighting or they're fighting too much, or they're angry and pushing too much. So that's hard to pacify if you're living with someone like that. If you have a wife like that or a husband like that, it's hard to overcome that fear because they do things that fearfully, and if you don't, it's amazing you would have even met. These are the outer planets. They're not noticeable. They're subtle things underneath, but they affect behavior. So when you start working with a person's chart, you start to see, oh, they've got to overcome some fears to do this. Then you're into a challenging yoga of how do you deal with this? What are you going to do what do you have to fight against? What's your battle? If it's Neptune, how do you not lose focus? How do you do something noble or worthwhile? If it's Uranus, even though there's instability, what things are you going to choose? What are you going to, you're using this as puzzles to how to take care of those things. You're being alert to the fact that this person has these puzzles. Maybe not as extremely as I was, and I'm pointing out the extremes intentionally because I can go there. A lot of people may be half there, not that extreme, but still in their chart, it will play out sometime in their life. But you're alerted to the vulnerabilities, Mars about what you're doing. So you're seeing there's shocks to what one's doing, there's confusion about what one's doing, Neptune, there's fear and confrontations around it. It could just be bullying from a gang. But just these outer planets have the potential for these extremes. So these are the unusual battles that someone wouldn't necessarily talk about. Inside Saturn, it's just normal puzzles. These outer planets bring in special vulnerabilities. And we all got them. We all got places, and they all work out in different ways. So as we get to each of these planets on their own, we'll see what they're doing. Right now, it's enough to see how it's affecting the Mars. And as soon as I talk about it, it's never quite as thorough as I want. We could take any one of these aspects and take 2 or 3 charts, and we're talking for the next 3 or 4 hours just on the one thing. How does this work out? How are you going to solve that? What's going to make that person happy? You see way more than you can talk to someone else about. But by knowing it, you don't have to talk about that as the most important thing. Most important thing is the sun sign, the moon sign, getting your personal world together. But these nerves are there, and it will help you realize they have these nerves. That's where their nerves are. And in spite of that, how can you still do things and build things up? Well, still, you need to look for excitement where Uranus. You need to look for visions and dreams where Neptune is. So you're still trying to evolve each planet as you go. So when you're talking to someone in a consultation, you're seeing these things. Oh my goodness, you're going to imagine the worst right away. Every astrologer does, especially when you look at your own chart. You go, oh geez. Or your wife's 6 months after you're married, you go, oh, why didn't I see that? But how you see the aspect can change at different times, but that the energy is there. How does someone live like that? If you met someone, anybody that's lived 60 years has been through a lot of things and they survived with their chart. Everyone's lived a year. It's really a miracle we live a day just on germs alone. But this is the structure of how each of the planets affect each other. They can come in, sometimes people show us effects on the physical body, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's on the psychic, sometimes on other planes. But the nerves are there. These outer planets are outer extremes. They pull you out into the world instead of being content with who you are as the person. I mean, Facebook's a good example of this, or the computers. We're so caught up in the news and the gossip about everyone and what's happening out there, and none of it really is our business. We're not minding our own business and doing the things we need to do. And it's not in there. Someone that used to have a farm and have to take care of the farm and stuff, they had at least, they're working hard, but it's something that's theirs. In the world, in the world of the web, what's yours? My thought, my links, my friends, my thousands of friends who I've never met. And if I'm sad and down, who wouldn't be thinking of calling me? But this is the shallowness of today's virtual society, that kids are growing up thinking it's more than virtually real. But anyways, these are the aspects to Mars. Each planet has different energies, so I just have to try and come in and come at it as best I can. This is my run at Mars. We'll be repeating some of this as we're dealing with Jupiter and Saturn. So next week we're dealing with Jupiter and what it does. And thanks. I did want I might email you, but I'm thinking it might be nice to get one day a month where if you're around, you want to come and meet me, we can spend an afternoon together, go out for a restaurant for supper or something, and then just spend a few hours together talking and just knowing each other. So just send me an email, and I'm trying to figure out whether Friday night, probably a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon would be about the best time. Let me know what might be your preference, or if you want to do this or not. You know, by now you may have heard too much of me and not want to see me again. Anyways, I just thought it would be a nice addition to going along with where we are from here on. Okay, thanks. I'll see you next week for Jupiter. Okay, bye-bye.